Gareth, it's a pleasure to have you with us at the World Pensions Conference here in Holborn. We're delighted to partner with the PMI. It was a great conference. And we thought, we'd take a few more minutes of your time now for a quick recap. And thank you, Mark Anthony, for having stayed over for filming us today. And the idea was maybe to give the viewers the quintessence of your opening speech yesterday morning, which is really, you could call it pensions at the crossroads, and pensions and the UK economy at the crossroads, because today pension funds are at the intersection of many crucial policy, financial, economic, development, employment. So people expect a lot from pension funds because they've moved center stage. So we wanted to have your thoughts on that.
Sure. Well, first of all, let me just say thank you very much. I think we've worked together a lot over the last few years, and we've always supported the World Pensions Forum at conferences. So we're delighted this year to partner with you, and the event here in London has been fantastic yet again. And we never cease to be amazed by the quality of the speakers that you can draw in. But to your point, yes, it would seem that the geo-economic landscape has changed a lot in the last few years, and it seems to be changing more and more rapidly. When you look at the global stage, whether that's tariffs from the US, whether you look more locally here, the budget black hole, you look at some of the geopolitical tensions around the world, you've also got the rapid rise of technological change and AI. It seems like an ideal time that we should get together and talk about a lot of these things, and the quality of some of the speeches that we've heard over the last few days have really, really helped with that. Delighted to be part of it.
Our pleasure. And as you said yesterday, policymakers, MPs, ministers ask more and more from the pension funds because they think, as Mark Mosley said earlier, this is where the money is, right? So
exactly. And whether you're a leader within the industry, whether you're a policymaker, a stakeholder, you can't ignore these issues. So we have to come together and discuss them. And one of the great things about conferences like these is it does bring people together from a global perspective. Here in the UK, we can't assume we have all of the answers to everything, because not all of the problems are a local problem. Some of them are more global problems. Take climate, for example. So you see some of the great work that's going on in other parts of the world. I didn't think 10 years ago, when I first came into this industry, I'd be attending conferences to talk about sphagnum moss, for example, and the importance of nature and forests and that kind of thing. But some of the things that we've heard over the last couple of days have been so important to try and help some of these problems on a global basis.
Indeed. And I think you mentioned, the Mansion House Accord or agreement.
Yes.
Of course, it's good to tap into the potential for long-term investment, harnessing the superpowers of pension funds, moving the trillions or billions into modern transportation and energy and tech infrastructure in Britain. It's a great idea, but of course there's a fine balance, because ultimately the trustees, the board members, whom at the PMI you train constantly, ultimately they should have the last word, right?
Well, look, we can see the attractiveness for wanting to tap into, as you say, the superpower of pensions, and with DB more and more sort of heading into endgame and DC on the rise, you can see the attractiveness of wanting to be able to use those assets. There are several things here. Yes, we acknowledge that many of the larger DC funds will commit to the Mansion House Accords, and we support that. We support the growth of the economy, but we also sound some warnings as well that you mentioned about trustees and the fiduciary duty that trustees have, and we can't forget that. That they have to be able to retain that fiduciary duty. So whilst we support the general direction of travel, and whilst we support the sort of the major aspects of the pension schemes bill here in the UK currently going through Parliament, We do sound a couple of warning bells, and we also sound a warning bell on mandation as well. You know, we would be quite concerned if the government was then using those powers to mandate certain things.
And we, you know, last words, I'm aware of time, but we on the continent, you know, we look up to Britain and the Anglo-Saxon world and Australia, because you kept a notion which is rooted in medieval French law, but sadly we no longer have it in France, which is fiduciary duty, fiduciaire. Fiduciaire, French word or Latin word. And fides in Latin means faith or trust.
It does indeed.
And without trust, the whole system will collapse. And when I say the whole system, it's not only pension, it's financial markets, be they the stock market, bonds, equity, gilts, small cap, mid cap, you name it. It's based ultimately on trust. And to preserve trust, we need to preserve the sanctity of trusteeship. So the trustees, the board members, should at all times have the last word.
Indeed, and that's really important. And I guess one of the other topics that's been really important here as well, that we sound some concerns about too, is AI. We're not going to escape AI. It's part of the future. It's here and now. And we're going to see more and more and more pension firms, pension schemes using AI. And there is a role for AI. There really is. But we also say that, you know, when it comes to human judgment is critical as well. And again, it comes back to some of the duties of people like trustees in the pension system. You know, you can't have algorithms replacing that fiduciary duty and the role that they play. We look at empathy in administration, for example. It's a very important aspect. So AI will be phenomenal in this industry, bring some great value, but we can't forget the role of the human as well.
Indeed, and I think we should conclude on these last words of wisdom. Marshall McLuhan, who coined the term the global village and who invented the word email, electronic mail, he predicted that in the future people would send letters electronically, and when he said so, people mocked him. But Marshall McLuhan himself and Professor Hannah Arendt in New York and Toronto back in the mid-60s, so they were true visionaries, they predicted the rise of AI 50, 60 years later, and they both say something which I think is very useful. They said in the 21st century, when AI will rise, there will be one central policy issue which everyone, citizen and ministers, should have in mind. Keep the human factor and keep the ability to slow down things. If we are unable, because AI will mean faster decisions, not only automated decisions, and nanosecond decisions. And if we allow it to become a nanosecond, ultra-fast, robotic process without the capacity for board members, human beings, to just say, wait a minute, we need a few hours, a few days to make that decision, then the whole system will collapse. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers.